There is a specific kind of exhaustion that is difficult to explain. Not the exhaustion that comes from working too hard or sleeping too little. This one is different. This one is the exhaustion of a nervous system that never fully switches off. The exhaustion of someone who lies down at the end of a long day and, instead of resting, starts mentally scanning for everything that could go wrong tomorrow. Someone who takes a vacation and spends the first 3 days feeling vaguely guilty for not being productive. Someone who, in the middle of a genuinely calm and peaceful moment, feels a quiet but persistent sense that something is wrong. Not because anything is wrong, but because the feeling of safety itself feels unfamiliar. If that sounds familiar, this video is not going to tell you that you are broken. It is going to explain exactly why this happens, where it comes from, and what it means about the kind of environment your nervous system learned to operate in before you were old enough to choose anything for yourself. Chapter 1. The nervous system that never learned to rest. To understand why some people cannot rest even when everything is fine, you first need to understand something about how the human nervous system develops. The nervous system does not come fully formed. It is shaped by experience. Specifically, it is shaped by the environment a child grows up in during the earliest and most formative years of their life. When a child grows up in a safe, predictable, and emotionally consistent environment, their nervous system learns something fundamental: that calm is the default state, that rest is safe, that stillness does not mean danger is coming. But when a child grows up in an environment that is unpredictable, emotionally volatile, or chronically stressful, something very different happens. The nervous system learns a different lesson. It learns that calm is temporary, that stillness is suspicious, that the moment things feel okay is precisely the moment you need to stay alert because the disruption is probably coming. Neuroscience calls this hypervigilance, and what makes it so difficult to recognize in adulthood is that it does not feel like fear. It feels like responsibility. It feels like being thorough. It feels like the kind of person who thinks ahead, who prepares, who never lets things fall apart. From the outside, it looks like exceptional competence. From the inside, it is exhausting in a way that is almost impossible to put into words. Chapter 2. Why rest feels dangerous. Here is what most people do not realize about rest. Rest is not simply the absence of activity. For the nervous system, rest requires something much more specific. It requires safety. And safety is not just a physical condition, it is a neurological one. When the nervous system has been trained to operate in high alert mode from an early age, the simple act of slowing down can trigger a very real and very confusing kind of anxiety, because the nervous system has learned that stillness is not neutral. Stillness is where the threat finds you. Stillness is what happens right before everything falls apart. This is why so many people who grew up in stressful or unpredictable environments find themselves completely unable to do nothing. They fill every moment. They are always working on something, always planning the next thing, always moving. Not because they love being busy, but because busyness is the only state in which their nervous system feels safe. The moment the busyness stops, the anxiety floods in. Psychologists sometimes call this functional freeze avoidance. The person is not resting. They are running from the discomfort that rest brings with it. And the cruel irony is that the more exhausted they become, the more they need to rest, and the more impossible rest becomes. Chapter 3. The guilt of doing nothing. There is another layer to this that goes beyond the nervous system. It is the guilt. Many people who cannot rest also cannot rest without feeling guilty about it. They sit down for 10 minutes and immediately start compiling a mental list of everything they should be doing instead. They go on holiday and check their emails. They take a day off and spend most of it feeling vaguely like they are doing something wrong. This guilt is not random. It has a history. In many cases, it was shaped in childhood by environments where productivity was the price of safety, where love or approval was conditional on doing, helping, achieving, not causing problems, where the child learned very early that their value was tied to their usefulness. When that child grows into an adult, they carry that equation with them. Rest equals worthlessness. Doing nothing equals being nothing. And no amount of logic dismantles it quickly, because it was not built by logic. It was built by years of lived experience, at an age when the brain was still forming its most fundamental beliefs about how the world works. Chapter 4. What this looks like in adult life. It's worth being specific about what this pattern actually looks like in the daily life of an adult, because it does not always look the way people expect. It looks like the person who is praised constantly for being reliable and hardworking, but who privately feels like they are always one mistake away from everything collapsing. It looks like the person who struggles to delegate, because handing something over means losing control, and losing control feels genuinely unsafe. It looks like the person who can't enjoy good news for long before their brain starts searching for the problem hidden inside it. It looks like the person who wakes up early on weekends, not because they want to, but because sleeping in makes them feel lazy. The person who feels anxious on Sunday evenings, not just because of Monday, but because the unstructured time of the weekend itself felt threatening. The person who, when asked what they do for fun, genuinely struggles to answer. These are not personality quirks. They are nervous system responses. They are the long shadow of an early environment that required constant alertness, and a brain that learned its lessons so well that it cannot easily unlearn them.
Chapter 5. Why this is not a life sentence. The most important thing to understand about all of this is that it is not permanent. The nervous system is not fixed. It is plastic. It can change. Slowly, with patience and the right conditions, the nervous system that learned to operate in crisis mode can learn something new. But it requires more than just deciding to relax. It requires building genuine experiences of safety. Small, consistent, repeated experiences that teach the nervous system that calm is not a threat, that stillness is survivable, that nothing bad happens when you stop running. This might look like 5 minutes of deliberate stillness each day, not meditation in the traditional sense, but simply sitting with the discomfort of doing nothing and noticing that you survive it. It might look like practicing receiving help without immediately trying to reciprocate. It might look like noticing the guilt that comes with rest, and instead of acting on it, simply naming it. Saying to yourself, "This is old. This is not true anymore. I am safe." None of this is fast. The nervous system took years to learn what it knows. It will take time to learn something different, but it is possible. And understanding why you cannot rest is the first and most important step toward actually being able to. If something in this video felt familiar, I want you to hold on to one thing. The fact that you cannot rest is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is not laziness dressed up as busyness. It is the sign of a nervous system that worked incredibly hard to keep you safe in an environment that required it. And that same nervous system, given time and the right experiences, can learn that the threat is over. Tell me something in the comments. When was the last time you truly rested without feeling guilty about it? I am genuinely curious, and I read every response. And if you want to keep exploring how the mind works, why we feel what we feel, and what psychology actually has to say about the patterns we carry from childhood into adult life, subscribe, because that is exactly what this channel is here for.